there's somebody listening to this that thinks they're too old. And I recognize that because I didn't step into full-time ministry until I was 50 years old. And that's when, and I didn't know anything about anything in this world but a horse, a cow, and a trailer to haul them in. Right. But do I trust God? If your word is true, if I do what you said do, Jesus, then you're going to take care of this other part. And so I think there's opportunity everywhere. And I think this generation that you and I are in now, there's an opportunity for any of them that would be willing to, whosoever will.
Welcome to the Age of Lions podcast, a platform and community dedicated to bringing purpose, strategy, and calling to kingdom-minded people who are 50 plus and excited about their next chapter. Here's your host, Mark Clement.
Everybody, welcome to episode 39 of the Age of Lions podcast. So glad you're with us today. That was our special guest today, Charles Kelly, Pastor Charles Kelly, a dear friend of mine and someone I haven't been able to connect with in a while. So super excited to have him on today. And as you heard from that clip, he's got some amazing things to say. He's a great friend. He's going to have a lot of wisdom for you. So make sure you tune in for every second of today's conversation. Hey, before we get into that, just want to encourage you to like and subscribe, follow, comment on every channel that you're listening to or watching on, whether that's YouTube or iHeartRadio or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever it might be. Let us know that you're out there. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your thoughts. Comment on something that Charles talks about today. Ask a question. Let us know. You can also get in touch with us via the website, which is ageoflions.com. And on ageoflions.com, you can find out kind of the history of the podcast, the vision of it, what we're doing. You can also join the community by just giving us your name and your contact info real quick so we can add you to our list, so we can let you know about things that are coming up and things that are going on. And we'd love to have you join us on that. So without further ado, let's get right into our interview with the incredible Charles Kelly. Hey, Charles, how are you, man?
I'm good, Mark. Honored to be with you today.
Man, we're honored to have you. So appreciative of you saying yes and being willing to get on here and talk about this with us. And I was introducing you before we got on and just telling the people about you a little bit. It's been a really fun journey to get to know you. We had the privilege of working together for a couple of years when I was at Highlands College and you were at Church of the Highlands, and we were doing campus ministry and all the things. And you were always one of my favorite guys because you, as we can just tell by looking at you, you don't fit the mold. You are your own guy. you were definitely not, even though you had all the leadership skills and stuff, you weren't like every other campus pastor. You definitely had a different vibe.
Yeah, when I went to Highlands College, I was called to ministry later in life. And when I pursued Highlands College, I actually thought it was traditional seminary I was supposed to be going to. And then this Highlands College thing kind of came up, and I'm so thankful for every step of the journey, the relationships along the way. But when I was going to Highlands College, I just knew God was calling me to ministry. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And I just knew that there was a piece of the puzzle that I was supposed to get at that program. It was the evening program, and then ACLI now. And I just knew there was something I was supposed to get there. And that was a period of a lot of freedom for me because, man, I didn't know. People were asking me, hey, what are you doing, man? I understand you're in ministry school. I said, yeah, that's what I am. That's what I'm doing right now. So 2 years with just a lot of freedom in that to serve and never dreamed I'd work at Highlands because my outfit ain't changed since 1988. And so I love those people. I love the incredible leaders that are in that place. And really, it was like, which one doesn't fit? Well, that old guy with a cowboy hat, he doesn't fit. He'll get out of here. Because you wonder where God's going to use these people as you see them in the process of pursuing their next steps.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sure you drew a lot of attention right away with being kind of the odd man out. Haven't been around that program for several years. I don't know that we've had anybody else in a cowboy hat, so that alone separates you. And then you got such a great personality, and you're a lot of fun to be around. And one of the things I always loved about you, and still do, and I get this even from your social media posts, you're just such an encourager. You're always helping people kind of figure out their next step. You're challenging them. You call them out. Like, you are not afraid of confrontation. You will go right there and you'll call something out and you'll push us to go to the next level. And I always really love that about you.
I don't like confrontation, but hey, let's get it out there. And
right.
let's go ahead and eat the frog and just get it out of the way instead, because
right.
it ain't gonna get better. The rodeo arena, which big part of my past, and my wife and I both love team roping, and we still do. We're just older now. Now I can't do what we once did, but these young guys, they want to wait. So it's a timed event. So the quicker you capture the animal on the end of the rope, the time stops. The quicker the better, right? But everybody's wanting to wait for the perfect shot. And so they're bad about, when you're starting out, you're bad about tracking your animal too far down the arena. And I'd say, and so my saying is, listen, it doesn't get better further down the pen. So if you got something hard to do, hey, let's go ahead and do it. And,
That's right.
And then go ahead and walk in that. It's never quite as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody a little bit about your background. You mentioned it right there. When I met you, you'd already finished Highlands College Leadership Institute. You were serving as a campus pastor.
Right.
And that's kind of where we connected. But give us a little bit of background prior to that, and where you kind of came from, business world or whatever you were doing, and how you got there.
I'll make it quick. And they grew up in Talladega County in the community of Winterboro, Alabama, which is kind of central Talladega County, which is east of Birmingham. And and when you're from over here in Talladega County, Birmingham's kind of where you go. So and so you grow up 45 minutes from everything all your life. And so, driving Birmingham's no big stretch. And
by the way, let me just say that I've lived in Alabama most of my life. I mean, like 90% of my life. And I've never heard of Winterboro. So it's got to be a small.
There's a school, and it's rural Talladega County. So think about Talladega, what you would imagine.
And everybody knows Talladega because of the racetrack, and that right. We know.
And so that's spot on. And Ricky Bobby fits right in, and
right. Which was filmed there, by the way. And so, I love to tell people that.
And so just think more rural, and that's where I come from.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I grew up on a cattle ranch in the community of Winterboro, and so we were halfway between Talladega and Sylacauga. And I live in Sylacauga now. Went to school in Talladega as a kid because my mother taught in the school system up there. And so I didn't go to school at Winterboro because all that's in Winterboro, the zip code is actually Alpine, Alabama. And all that's in Alpine is a little store and a post office. And then in Winterboro, which is a suburb of Alpine, all that's there is a school and a church. And I'm at the church. It's right across the road. It's directly across. You walk out the front door of the church and you're looking at the school. So 1A school, kindergarten through 12th grade. We have a Mapco gas station a little bit up the road, and then we just got a Dollar General Market, which everybody is really excited about in Winterboro. Yeah, it's a big deal. So that's Winterboro, Alabama, and there's a lot of cotton fields and row crop fields, and I grew up on a cattle ranch in that community. And
then what did you do for a living up to when I met you?
After when I graduated high school, I was ready to get away from the ranch and get away from my dad. It was working me way too hard, and I wanted to go and do all the things other kids did. I had been doing my time in forced labor all my life, and so I went to Auburn and spent some time down there. Yeah, War Eagle, and loved it. My motto, I was shooting for to live out my motto, which was Auburn, no better place to spend a decade. But I didn't quite make that, but I did make 5 years. But I came back and moved to family property in Sylacauga, which is where I am now. So I moved here in 1988 when I graduated from Auburn to be in the cattle business. And that's all I ever wanted to do for the rest of my life. My life plan was to be working cattle on the back of a horse every day until Jesus came to get me. And so I did that, added a trailer business. We started, I was involved in team roping and in the rodeo business a little bit, putting on events. And I started a horse and a cattle trailer dealership back in mid 90s, and that grew. Wendy came into the picture not too long after that, and we got married, and then we ended up moving that business away from the ranch. We started it on the ranch in Sylacauga, moved it to the interstate in Birmingham, but we did that for 15 years and closed that down actually for me to pursue ministry. But Wendy came to work at Church of the Highlands as well. We worked together for the whole time we were married. When we got married, she came to work with me full time. And so we've been together, and then they wanted to work together again at some point. When I finished ministry school, she actually became my campus coordinator for a little bit here when we launched Sylacauga and all that. But we still work together. We still have the ranch in operation. We've scaled it way down. Ministry is my number one priority. Wendy, full-time on the ranch now. She's got a commercial flock of sheep. We raise meat animals, sheep. And so she's in lambing season right now. She's really busy. We have beef cattle. We still have horses, as you see on some of my social media posts. And then we also we started selling cattle trailers again just a couple of years back, just because we missed the people we got to deal with. We're not selling the full line of stuff like we used to, like horse trailers. We're doing cattle trailers, and that's what we're doing. And I'm pastoring a little church in Winterboro, Alabama, Winterboro Community Church. And our mission field is Winterboro School, which is right across the road. And I always said, do what's right in front of you. And it's literally right in front of us.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that definitely helps. I just want everybody to have a little bit of context of you and who we're talking to, and kind of where you're coming from. And we'll get to what you're doing now in a minute. So let's start. I want to start with, we always ask everybody a couple of questions just to kick things off, kind of a benchmark. Yeah. And, we're geared obviously toward people 50 plus. And so I always like to ask people kind of like a little kickoff to say, at what point in your life did you kind of have that aha moment of, I feel great and I'm getting after it, but I'm a little older than I'd like to think I am. That reality check of something has happened where I go, man. Well, what was that for you?
For me, it was probably in the rodeo arena. It probably in the team roping pen, and what that looked like is I got to a point in my life in team roping, and it's just a great community of people that are horsemen and think the world of these people. Actually, Wendy and I will be delivering a trailer to an event tonight where they're using one of our trailers as a giveaway, as a prize. And so we love that. But in the arena, I had an arena here at my place here in Sylacauga where we would rope multiple nights a week. And it was a gathering place, and young guys would come. But everybody will always coach you up in team roping. And hey, man, you're doing this. And it got to the point where it wasn't that I noticed anything physically. The first thing I noticed was I got to an age where nobody was telling me I wasn't roping great. I mean, that wasn't getting better. And as I got older, but then nobody would correct me. And what it was an age thing and a respect thing. And I get that. Yeah. And, but it would be, and so, which is kind of honoring, I guess, but it's really not practically helpful because we all need, if we want to get better, we need somebody speaking into us. And so that was really the first moment for me is, man, ain't nobody coaching me.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That is real good. Yeah. Normally it's something physical, it's eyesight or an injury.
Oh, yeah.
And that happens to a lot of people, but that's a really interesting point. I've told a story in here a couple of times. I won't go way into it again, but because the audience has heard it. But one of my moments like that, and I think it speaks to what you're saying, is I was on the worship team there at Highlands, and was at the main campus, and all the leaders are like in their 30s, and they're like children to me. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean like my kids are in their 30s. So but I just feel like I'm one of them. Like you probably thought I'm one of the guys out here doing it. Yeah. And I'll never forget Caitlin Reeves, one of the leaders, who's just this wonderful young lady. She was telling us where to stand and whatever. We're getting started on a Sunday, and she called me Mr. Mark. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, you're talking to me? And it was such a weird, And what I've always said about it is you forget you don't realize how people younger than you see you. I think of myself in my 30s. Like I feel exactly, I mean, I'm older and I feel it, but like mentally, I still feel like I'm like 35. And so it's just odd when you start to realize, oh, they're perceiving me. I perceive myself the same, but they're looking at me differently. And that is it kind of messes with your head a little bit.
It is. I mean, it's time to step up and all right. So when we recognize that things have changed, then how do we adapt and make the best out of that season, which is, what we're trying to do, not trying to be something we're not.
That's
but,
right.
Because when you see the old dude trying to look like he's in his 20s, that ain't a good look. And,
that's right.
And so just be who you are and man, I just authentic. And, but yeah, it's a reality that we all have to deal with. And the physical stuff happens too, where you where you don't recognize yourself in pictures. Like, who's that? Oh my gosh, that's me. Because you don't feel that way in your mind.
That's right. Well, the beard gives you away. You and I both.
Yeah.
I'm not super gray. I've got a little gray, but like it's really
I lost
the beard.
Everything up here, so
that's
all
right.
I got is this right there. That's what a guy does when he loses his hair. He starts showing you can still grow it somewhere else.
That's exactly right. And I tell you right now, if you shave that off, you'd lose about 15 years. People would think you would go down in age. It's the white hair that gives it away for sure. Well, you kind of led me right to my next question, which is, so that being said, how do you feel different now than you did maybe 20 years ago? Like what's the main difference in your life with physical, mental, whatever? What's the big difference now?
So my mentor, and I actually talked to him, and I got an interview I did with him on YouTube, on my YouTube channel recently, retired NFL football coach. He's the most disciplined guy that I've ever met in my life. And
I saw a clip of that on your socials. Yeah. I didn't understand. How do you know him?
He retired from coaching in the National Football League. He coached Division I college football for 20 years, 21 years NFL, retired, bought a ranch, some property here in Talladega County, was trying to learn how to be in the cattle business. And he didn't know anything about it. And I did. And I saw something in him as a follower of Jesus Christ I'd never seen in a man before. And so I got as close to him as I possibly could. And he really changed the direction of my life. And so, but he's disciplined with everything that he does. He loves the Lord. He works out 7 days a week, every day, and has for, has missed 20 days in like 31 years of working out, running and lifting weights. And he's 86 now. And anyway, this guy is instilled discipline in me, in my life. And I've lost the question. I got to thinking about the coach here, but we're talking about the physical part of this.
Well, I was just asking you, how do you feel different, whether mental or physical or whatever, than you did maybe in your 30s? The physical
thing is real. And so I still am very active, and I work out 5 days a week. I don't do coaches. I don't go 7 days a week. I do like having a morning where I don't have to get up and do something, because Sunday's coming and I got to get up and do church on Sunday. So Saturday's a day I kind of take it a little bit easier. But physically, what I notice is I have to manage my time. Mornings are my best time. I get up extremely early, and I do go to the gym and work out before I get in the Word. And so I'm very disciplined. I get in the Word every day. And the thing I've noticed probably more than anything is my energy level at the end of the day. And so I really try to focus my time in the right places at the right time. And I'm always adjusting that. And I used to really like to lift heavy weights, and I don't do that anymore. I still lift, but I'm not expecting anybody to ask me what I bench press these days. And but so all of that is real. But I think what it does, the Lord probably uses that to help us become more aware of ourselves than we were, so that we can be intentional with our time, which is all to the theme of your podcast. All right. Hey, let's get real intentional about what we do, because it's not how you start. And praise God for that. We can always start right where we are. And so here we are, and what we're going to do from this point forward. And I'm more excited about the future than hey, thank God for some of the stuff I got to do, but man, I'm really more excited about the future.
Yeah. Oh man, that is so good. So one of the things that I've really always admired about you is you're obviously not slowing down. You said you're what, 61?
Yeah.
And so still a young man, and the older I get, the younger 60 looks.
Absolutely.
I'm 57.
Yeah.
So, it's funny how that bar comes down. But the truth is, especially in this day and age, I think people are a lot younger, longer. I think we're in better health, take better care of ourselves. We have more information. We're more aware of stuff, all the things.
Yeah.
But a lot of people at my age, your age, they're thinking about stopping. They're thinking about retiring. They're thinking about quitting. And I don't mean that. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing for everybody to do, but they're kind of, a lot of people are thinking in decline, like, okay, how do I stop?
Yeah.
And what I love about you is that you're always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? I've always known that about you. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, because as we were talking a little bit offline before we started, you've had a successful career in business, and then you did some ministry at Church of the Highlands. You were part of the staff there for several years and had a lot of success there, and they entrusted you with a lot of things to do. And then when you felt like it was time to move on, you could have very easily just gone back to the ranch or just done kind of whatever. But you're like looking for that next mission field opportunity, ministry, calling, whatever word you want to put on it. So tell us a little bit about that, how that came about and what you're doing now.
As far as so thankful for all of the journey, and it took me a while to leave Highlands because I wanted to leave well, and I have so much respect for Pastor Chris and Pastor Lane, and just the opportunities that they afforded me. I never dreamed of it, and really, same.
I never thought I would work there. That was such a just a God
Praise
thing,
God.
and was
Thank you,
super
Lord.
honored to be part of it. Yeah, 100%.
And then Greystone, I couldn't have scripted that. I would have scripted it different because the Pastor Keith Lindsay was a big part of my life, and he's the one that God used in my life to really show me that I was supposed to be a pastor, and that I needed to model after him. And so he was the target for that. And so I got to become the Greystone campus pastor for a period of time, and then left that to do Sylacauga, and which, wow, it was really every step of the way, God's hand was just on it. It was an incredible journey. But it really, when I fell in love with the church, that happened at Church of the Highlands. And Highlands is an easy place to stay because, man, it's so comfortable. Everybody gets it. There's a culture there, and it's so easy. But if you'll spend time in God's word and listen to the words of Jesus and listen to the instructions that we have, everybody's not going to be able to come to those buildings. It's just not going to happen. And I know the people in the community that I come from, and man, I would invite them, and a couple of them came once. Some of them never came at all, but everybody's got an opinion because they've heard this, they've heard that. But the same gospel is true. And so, God, if you're in this, and so just on my journey, as I'm seeking God in his word, and all right, God, what do you want me to know, and what do you want me to do? And Wendy and I call it, we get into these seasons of spiritual discontent. And that's really what happened at Highlands. There was nothing wrong. Right. I just couldn't get peace. I couldn't get rest. It felt like I was losing, the grace for some things that used to feed me. And anyway, Lane Strands, when I told him I was leaving, he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Man, I don't know." I said, he said, "Well, he said, "You're doing exactly what you wanted to do. You're where you wanted to be. How are you leaving?" I said, "Dude, all I can tell you is it's like the guy in the country that went to visit his neighbor, and they walks over to his house. They're standing on the porch talking, and his dog's laying there on the porch, and the dog's whimpering. The guy's looking at him and said, "What's wrong with your dog?" He said, "Ain't nothing wrong with that dog." He said, "Well, something's wrong with him. He's whimpering." He said, "Oh, he's laying on a nail." He said, "Well, why didn't he get up and move?" He said, "The nail ain't hurting him bad enough yet." And anyway, I told Lane, I said, "Man, all I can tell you is the nail's hurting bad enough, and I don't know." And but anyway, as time went by, I knew I was called. So I took a season just to disconnect and just actually attended Highlands for a while and supported Zeke Walters, who took my place and who's one of my spiritual sons. I love him. So proud of him.
Yeah. Great guy.
Stayed and supported him for a season and hosted for him some. And when he was traveling or whatever. But anyway, as time went by, God just reminded me, I've called you to do this. And so I started reaching out to some of the little local churches that are struggling. Because if you ride through the country in Alabama or anywhere, USA, and ride through places where there's not a lot of people, every church that's scattered around the countryside, the cars are diminishing each and every Sunday.
Yeah.
And so, man, God, you can't be through with these places.
That's right.
You can't be. I know you didn't do this to be finished with them. And so anyway, ended up reaching out to multiples around here and filled in and did some stuff. And anyway, this one little church at Winterboro, Alabama, is the one church that I've ridden by because I grew up in Winterboro, had a ranch there, had a ranch in Sylacauga, drove by this church every day of my life since I was 16 years old between two ranches.
Yeah.
Having a conversation with the Lord one day, riding down the road, he said, Charles, if you want to help a little church, he said, you don't need to just try to help them. You need to go do it yourself. You need to figure out how this works. And you don't equip you. I got this incredible equipping at Highlands with hands-on experience. And so anyway, I'm having this conversation with the Lord, just me and him in my truck. And if you could, I'll go anywhere, Lord. What do you want to do? And he said, where would you go? And I said, I'll go anywhere. I don't care. I'm riding by that church, and I said, well, if I got to go, if I got to pick somewhere, what about right there? I didn't know they didn't have a pastor in 2 years. I'd never gone to that. My grandmother went to that church. I never went to that church. Anyway, it turns out they didn't have a pastor. So I started filling in for them a little bit there as they quickly wanted me to become the pastor. And I needed to lay it out to them. I said, listen, I'm not saying I won't be the pastor here, but there's got to be a lot of things that change. I said, there's a reason you're getting the results you're getting right now.
That's right.
And so anyway, so a little over 2 years ago, February 2 years ago, I did become the pastor, and we changed everything. And just one of the things I was up at Pastor Chris's office just several weeks back. I was meeting with Lane about some stuff, and I told Pastor Chris, I said, I got to tell you something. I said, what I'm most excited about right now is this year we will probably give away more money, invest more money back in our community than that church took in the years before I got to be a part of it.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
I said, Pastor Chris, I said, I learned that from you. And so thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is so awesome. I'll just put it out there into the universe. He's on my wish list to get on here as a guest. PC is.
Yeah.
Because he just has a book that just came out about grandparenting that I think would be an awesome thing to talk about. So
it would be. Yeah.
I'm just putting that out into the.
Yeah. Speak it, brother. He'll do it.
Well, the funny thing is, we talk about him. He comes up a lot, and I probably need to say this because we've got people literally around the world that watch this and listen to it who don't know what Highlands is. So I'll just say very, very briefly, this is the church we go to here in Birmingham, and they have campuses around the state and some in Georgia. And it's a very influential, very impactful church that Charles and I both have had the privilege of being members of and working at. My wife still works at the college, the Highlands College, which is the thing that they started. So when we talk about Highlands, that's what we're referring to. Right. And the Leadership Institute, which is the adult kind of education program that we both got to go through, and I got to work out a little bit and that kind of stuff. So just for some context, so that's Pastor good. Chris Hodges is PC. That's who we're talking about. But he does come up a lot because while about half of our guests aren't from here and don't have anything to do with Highlands, the other half probably have some tie because just my network and who I know. And so his influence and touch has come up a lot. People say, I heard this in a sermon from PC, or I was in a meeting with him, or a book he wrote or whatever. And so he's definitely been an influential person in our lives, just so everybody has a little bit of context.
Yeah, that's good.
So what I love about this, Charles, is that when you went to join that church and get involved and be their pastor and make some changes and all the things, a lot of guys our age or older would say, I don't want to fool with that. It's a lot of work. It's going to be. So what was the thing that made you go, I know how hard this is going to be. I know what it's going to take, but I feel like I'm supposed to do it and I'm willing to do it. Talk about the calling or purpose, or what was stirring inside you that made you think, I'm going to tackle this thing and get after it.
Yeah, that's a great question, because what my question, and when I was talking to Lane Strands in his office, and
Lane is another Highlands guy, just so y'all know.
He was my boss at Highlands. He was right below Pastor Chris, and he was over all the campus pastors. So he was my direct report at Highlands. And Lane took over for me when I left. He took over Leadership Institute. So small world. But anyway, Lane's a great guy. Yeah. Okay. So
go ahead.
Lane's always been my go-to guy, and he had more people under his direct leadership than anybody should ever have on the planet, and would always take my phone call, always take my meeting. I honor him so much for just his leadership and the way that he led me. Think the world of that dude. Love him. But he, when I was in his office recently, and I was filling him in on the church. I was talking to him about some other things, but I was filling him in on the church. And I said, there's opportunities. And he's actually sent some people to me because of Lane and some other people, we've been trying to help some other little small churches that are struggling, that recognize they need to kind of change course a little bit. So Lane's been actually sending some people to me. And so we talk about that from time to time. But I asked him, I said, these people that are in Highlands College Leadership Institute, they're adult learners. They've got responsibilities. And a lot of people there are there because they feel like they're supposed to pastor a church. Mm-hmm. And my deal is, if you're called to be a pastor, then why aren't you preaching? And because there's guys that are there right now that if they would just let me know they want to preach, I could get them in front of some churches to preach. Because the only way you're going to get better at anything is time on task.
That's right.
And so you've got to do it in order to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to sit here and talk about preaching and become a better preacher. So anyway, and so I asked him, I said, do these guys in your program, I said, do they want to preach, or do they want to get a job working at Highlands? And, I said, because it feels like, if the guys don't play baseball, they'll go anywhere they can to play baseball. Man, they'll go to a level 2 school, they'll go D2 school, they'll go to a farm remote league. It doesn't matter. They're going to do it. And so this is the thing and so there's somebody listening to this that thinks they're too old. And I recognize that, because I didn't step into full-time ministry until I was 50 years old. And that's when, and I didn't know anything about anything in this world but a horse, a cow, and a trailer to haul them in. And that was my life. Right. But do I trust God? And so here's the thing is that, all right, God, if your word is true, if I do what you said do, Jesus, then you're going to take care of this other part. So do we trust him or do we not? Because he said, go and make disciples, and then what to do with them. And then he said, teaching them to obey what he commanded. And so let's just do that. I'm no theologian. I know who I am and who I'm not, but I know this, I'm not who I was. And the same God and Jesus that saved me will save you. And so I think there's opportunity everywhere. And I think this generation that you and I are in now, there's an opportunity for any of them that would be willing to, whosoever will. So that's I think there's great opportunity in these churches, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but nothing worthwhile usually is.
That's right. That's right. And, and it's kind of all over your face and your energy that you're fired up to be doing this. You're not dreading it. God called me to do this and I'm just doing it because I got to do it.
I surrender
that's
to
not the
call.
Vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we talk about that a lot on here because it's like when you get into the right lane, the right thing God has for you, the flow, the river, whatever you want to call it. I mean, even if it's not something you think you're going to want to do, if you'll just, like you said, just be obedient, just trust him, just step into it. It's amazing how it becomes the thing that you're so passionate about. It's amazing how I was that way with the Leadership Institute. When I started there as a student, I did not want to go. God told me to go. I knew I was supposed to go. I didn't know why I was going. I didn't want to work there. None of that stuff was on my radar. But it became a huge part of my life for the next 5 years as a student, and then getting to work and lead that program and be part of it.
Yeah.
Like I care to this day, I care about it so much. And so one of the reasons I'm so happy that Lane was the guy that came in, because I was like, if anybody can do this, it's Lane. But I didn't care anything about it before that. And it's just, I'm just saying that to say that it's amazing how God will take a thing, even if you know it's a hard thing, and he'll make it, like you said earlier, the grace is on it. He makes a way for it to work. Your energy, your passion, your enthusiasm, it all kind of comes into alignment.
Yeah,
and
what are you trying? I mean, you got to be trying stuff. You got to take a step into it and see. And most of the time, there's so many things I have tried. I thought, man, this is going to be the thing. And it's not. And that's okay too. If you know who you are, whose you are, man, you're just being obedient. God said, do it. He didn't say he was going to make it work. He just said for you to try it, you know?
That's right. That's right. And you learn along the way, okay, that's not my thing. Yeah. And now I can let that go. Right.
I'm free
I
from
can check that
yeah.
off. That's right.
That needle didn't stick on the wall.
And so many times I think he'll put a thing out there for us to go after. He's actually trying to get us to go over here, but he knows we're going to have to go this way to get there. And again, it's just trusting the process, trusting his, like, he knows best, even if it doesn't look right, or we can't get our head around it, or we don't understand it, or whatever. Just like you said, just take the step and do something. And then I heard a pastor say one time, you can't steer a ship that's not moving.
That's exactly right. And we had tractors growing up that didn't have power steering. And man, when they get rolling, you can steer them. But man, sitting still, if it doesn't have power steering, it's hard to move once it's rolling. And that's kind of how the social media thing that I got started in very recently started. Man, I really have a disdain for it. I don't like to do it. And I don't. But man, God has just kind of breathed on that deal. And I was started it for another reason. But what I've recognized and I'm seeing in this 2 months ago, I have never been on TikTok in my life. And so I started posting because I was working with the Bible memory app. I started posting for them, and I was just doing some content there. And I said, well, I'll start an account and do it for myself. And I thought I was doing it for Bible memory. And then those channels that they have for the Bible memory app, it really didn't go anywhere. Like 85 people would look at it. And then my stuff just started growing. And then one day I happened to look at one of my videos that I'd posted that morning with cows. And I'm talking about hay and relating that to the Bible. I look at it that morning about 10:30 and 50,000 people had watched that video.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, what are you doing here, God? And so just these followers, and then what's happening is these people are connecting and DMing me from all over the country. Last week, I had conversations with a man in Phoenix, Arizona, another guy in Denver, Colorado, and a couple in Houston, Texas. And anyway, just on pastoral stuff, because I'm a pastor. Right. And if this is what this is supposed to look like, okay, God. And so I'm still following 0 people on TikTok, but I got a whole bunch of people that are following me now. So come on, Jesus. The good thing is the word of God is pretty expansive. We got a lot of material. I don't have to worry about running out of stuff.
You're not going to run out of content. That's for sure. Right. And honestly, that's how we reconnected, because I hadn't seen you in 2 or 3 years. And, we're not crossing paths like we used to. Yeah. And then I saw it popped in on Instagram. Your videos started popping up. I was like, oh, what's he up to? Started following you, started looking and watching your videos. And now here we are talking again. So it's been fun. I love when your stuff pops up, because it doesn't look or sound like most of the things that pop up. So it's
different
awesome.
Scenes on the ranch here. And it's different things. And God's given me a lifetime of just, And so now when you start doing something every day, that turns into pretty often. And so I'm trying to stay about a week ahead on content, but I am super excited about doing that. So Sunday morning, so our church will always be small. And that's okay. I've never been more content. We're great. The campus I pastored at Greystone, we had 4 identical services, and, we were just a lot of people there on the course of a Sunday, and praise God for every bit of it. And then, but rarely will we break 100 people at Winterboro, but the church is very much alive. And
that's right.
It looks like it's supposed to look in the context of where it is. Okay. And so that's the thing. The church should look like the community in which it exists. And so the thing I typically, I'll do a Sunday morning prayer. And anyway, I do my Sunday morning prayer right at daylight here on the ranch, and just praying for what I've kind of covered that week. And Sunday before the service, I was at the front of the room, and I just looked at, pulled it up, and to see, I just wanted to see the status of it. And before I started my church service, there's 10,000 people that had viewed by 10 o'clock that morning, that had watched this prayer. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, Lord, this could not have happened before now in history. And if this is the way that you want to do it, okay. We're not the church of the burning bush. He did that one time. And, he specializes in doing the same thing in different ways. And so I don't want to miss it. And I feel like as we get our generation, when we lock in and say, hey, man, this is how you do it, this is the way we've always done it, man, that's a problem for us. And what we're doing is we're leaving a gift that he's got for us wrapped up under the tree. This is what I'm doing. I'm playing with this, and we don't know what he still wants to give us.
That's good, man. That's so good. And, there's a lot of probably fear. We fear what we don't understand. And so, especially as we get older, technology is one of those things that tends to go by the wayside for people. And again, I think relative to past generations, we're probably more willing to try things, but there's still, I talk to enough people that you can tell there's a little bit of hesitation or apprehension around, AI and social media. And even in our Christian world, TikTok's a great example. People talk about, well, that's from China and it's got bad stuff on it and all that. It's like, yeah, but it's still a delivery system for the gospel. The gospel has always been one of the first things to adapt to the printing press, to radio, to TV, to social media, to internet. And so what other people are doing should not dictate how they use a tool should not dictate how we use a tool. That has, just because someone takes a hammer and breaks windows out of a house doesn't mean we can't take a hammer and build a house. Like it's just a tool. That's good. And so I think people get real spooked by that kind of thing. And so I love that you have gone into an area where you weren't comfortable with it. It wasn't your thing. You didn't like it. I totally get it. And said, hey, I'm going to use this tool because I feel like God's leading me to do this. And here you are influencing, impacting, reaching tens of thousands of people. And you just don't know what God's going to do with that. And I'm not saying we all are supposed to be doing that, but just as a model of saying, hey, I'm willing to step out and do something. I don't even fully understand it, but I just feel like I'm supposed to try to figure it out.
I believe there's something for everybody. And that's what you and I both hope somebody takes away from this today is they'll take a step in what they're called in to do. Doing, what was it? Teddy Roosevelt said, do what you can where you are with what you have.
That's right.
And, I'm not going to be traveling across the country. And if I got to physically get in front of all people, I'm going to be pretty limited. I'll get in front of those people at Winterboro once a week. But if he wants to do more with that with his technology, praise God.
That's right. That's right. So in these conversations you're having and as you're connecting with people, I would imagine same as me, you're probably, a lot of people probably your age-ish are drawn to you. They see here's somebody I can relate to. What do you find are some of the common issues that people in their 50s, 60s, 70s are facing that I'd like you just to speak to that? Like, what are you seeing are some of these challenges and how would you encourage them to get past that?
Well, I think that we need to keep trying, and when we start if we just recognize we need to keep learning. And I knew nothing about the social media platform, and I'm finding it out. I mean, I just found out last week how to shrink my captions where they weren't bigger than the screen, and it was so obvious. But anyway, you just gotta do it. And but we get to where we're not willing to try anymore. So as we're born, and Jesus told us, unless we become like little children, that we won't enter the kingdom. And we all have heard that. But as a child, they can be anything, they can do anything, they can have anything. There is no limits.
That's right.
And then, and I think that, and one of my theories is they're like that is because they've been the most recently with Jesus. They were just there. They just got here. So the world hadn't pulled it out of them yet. And then what we do is we live life in this world and we work a career and we go through things. And this is just how it's done. And this is just what we do. No, this is not. There's one truth. And what we do is live our life according to the truth of God's word. That will always be the filter. And if it gets outside of the instructions and the commands and what we're supposed to do there, then we're out of line. But meanwhile, anything that is within that, we're not asking the right questions. And when we quit trying to learn and figure out something new, we've let the world pull it out of us, the wonder and the awe. And so, hey, I love the life I used to get to live and the things I got to do. But as I said, man, I cannot wait to see who's about to walk in the door at Winterboro on a Sunday, or I cannot wait about who I'm going to get to talk to. Because if I can help anybody get connected to what God's got for them, man, the adventure begins. And so we all have an adventure available to us in the days ahead if we'll just step into it.
Yeah.
And
man.
I think we missed when Jesus shows up, everything gets better throughout history. And I think we missed the authority that we carry in that. And there's a whole lot of people in the church I grew up in. I guess they're in heaven, but they didn't look like they want to be where they were here. And man, if we've got the keys to the kingdom, let's act like it, everybody. And so, man, when I walk in the room, hey, man, Jesus just showed up. Everything's about to get a little bit better, y'all. And so I think as followers of Christ, we got to recognize that we've got to really be that light. And that doesn't mean just showing up somewhere, hearing it on Sunday and be mully grub the rest of the week. No, let's get after it.
Yeah. Amen. Amen to that. I'm just going to let you talk, man. You're killing it.
Hey, I'll chase the rabbit from now on. It just give me.
No, that's exactly what I love to hear. Is someone besides me making a challenge going, hey, you guys we gotta get up and get moving. So that's awesome. So let me ask you one other question. When I started this back in August of last year, and this will be, I don't know, episode 38, 39, something like that, close to 40. But I didn't ask this question at first. And then about a couple months into it, I thought God really kind of prompted me, like, I need to ask this question. And the question is to everybody, I always ask, from a younger person to now, how has your faith changed? What do you know about God that you didn't know before? Yeah. And what are you continuing to learn about him? Because I do believe if you're still exactly the same as you were then, you probably have missed something. So how have you grown? Changed. What's changed? What have you learned about God that you didn't know before?
So number one, what's going to happen is Jesus is going to show up in a relationship in your life. And so if we carry Christ in us with us. And so for Coach Bobby Jackson, when God, I tell everybody, he went from coaching thousands of young men over his career in 41 years of coaching to moved him to Talladega County, to Alpine, Alabama, to coach one, which is, I've claimed me. And so God shows up in a relationship, and then we have to recognize that we're probably supposed to be that relationship for somebody in our life. And so it's not supposed to stop with us. You know, we've got to go and take what we have, where we are, and do the thing that Jesus said do. I grew up with a list that my dad would leave me anytime he left for any period of time, whether it was 3 days or 3 hours or whatever. Here, boy, here's your list. And that's work I was supposed to get done. And then when he'd get back, first question he'd ask me, hey, boy, what did you get done on that list? Now, I envision when I hear God ask me that, he's going to ask me in a gentler way than my dad did. but I believe that I'm going to hear that question again. Hey, what did you get done with what I told you to do? And so as we go and as we age, man, we just got to keep moving. There's so many things that we practice in our society and our culture that are not biblical. Thinking, well, a kid's a kid. This childhood thing, man, the disciples, most of them were probably teenagers.
That's right.
The only one that we got a record of paying taxes was Peter and Jesus. Right. And that didn't happen until you got to be like 20. Right. So there's that. And you look at some of the founding fathers of our nation, some of the guys that are on the Declaration of Independence, these guys were just boys, according to the society we live in today. And then this other thing about retirement, this is not in the Bible. Man, as long as we got breath in our lungs, God is not through with us. And so what we've got to recognize is the more we can help others see that as we can keep moving towards that target, which is, hey, well done. Until that point gets here, he's not through with us yet. And we just got to keep moving. Because as long as you're moving, man, God can use us and he can redirect us. And so what does that look like for you? I mean, I think there's opportunity inside his church. I think there's opportunity we're not even thinking about yet. And I really believe most of the opportunity, I got people in my community right now at Winterboro, Alabama, that everybody pretty much in Alabama has been to church. If you're older than 50, you've been to church in your life before.
Right.
But we got a whole bunch of people close to our age that went as a kid and have not been back since. And there's a reason for that. Because what they saw and what they experienced made them not want to come back.
Yeah.
And so we've got the truth of the word. Don't forsake the gathering together, the meeting together. So that's important. But meanwhile, Jesus did not say, hey, come show up here on Sunday. He said, no, follow me. And then as they went, then we're able to influence people and make an impression on people. And that's what happened when Coach Jackson came into my life. Man, I want what this guy has.
Yeah.
And man, I'm going to do everything. And Pastor Keith Lindsay at Highlands, man, I want to be a pastor like this guy. And the only way that could happen for me to become a follower of Jesus like Coach Jackson, become a pastor like Keith Lindsay is to get as close to them as I possibly can. And what everybody needs to recognize is they're supposed to be that for somebody. You can't do it for everybody, but you can do it for somebody. And I got a couple of younger guys in my life right now. I am so excited for what God has for them ahead. One of them is an attorney, and man, the future is so bright for this dude. And he is just on fire for Jesus, and he's practicing law like nobody I've ever seen. And then I got another young guy that works with us here on our place. And this dude has got the hand of God on him and just a special favor on him. And they could not be more night and day, but God's got a unique calling for each and every one of us. And it doesn't matter how old we are, we can step into it right where we are when we are. And God's never going to bring up yesterday. And let's get after today and tomorrow. And so let's do today what we're supposed to do. And tomorrow have enough trouble of its own, right? But if we'll get after today, and God will make us ready for our tomorrow.
Right. Man, that's so good. So glad to hear you say that. And I tell you, the mentorship thing is such an easy first step opportunity for people who are a little bit older to step in. We've had that conversation with different people that have been on here. And the truth, and a lot of times the fear is, well, younger people aren't interested in what I have to say. They don't want to know. That is a lie. That's not true. They're hungry for older people to speak into them. You know, Jenda, my wife, works at the college still, and we get to hang out with a lot of those kids that are like the ambassadors and so forth. And they have a small group that comes over to our house on Sundays. And those girls want to be with her. Those young guys want to be with me. And and they just love to sit and talk and ask questions and just let you pour into them. And you don't have to be a theologian. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be.
No.
You just have to be you, just being honest. Tell them truth. Talk about what God's done in your life. Tell your story. Like, they're just so hungry for that. Just like you said at the top of the conversation, you were hungry for it in your 50s, and God brought you somebody, and you can't get enough of it to this day. And so that desire never goes away. We all want that. But just like we want it, somebody else wants it from us, and we have the opportunity to do that. So
that's good. That's well said. You know, one of the things that for younger people that are looking for a mentor, that I saw this a lot when I was a campus pastor at Highlands, is these Highlands College students, the traditional students would come and they'd ask it, hey, could you be my mentor? It's like, man, don't ask anybody that. That's weird. And that's why it sounds like a lifetime commitment, you know. And so nobody wants that. Man, just go ask them something. You know, hey, go spend time, be where they are. And and so you know, that's one of the things with Christians. Just in a lot of stuff we do, man, we'll make it weird. And so let's just be normal. And so, hey, if you want to learn about something somebody knows about, they go ask them, hey, can I get a cup of coffee? I want to ask you about this. Give me some clarity. Clarity creates comfort. And I'm not going to sign a lifetime mentoring contract with you. And so just go ask for it. And then as we're older, if we've got some wisdom to give, one of the things I think we missed the boat on, what I've done is some of the guys that God has let me, younger men that God's let me be a part of their life, is I actually started pursuing them. If I see something in somebody, instead of waiting on them to come to me, ask them to lunch a couple of times. And then, and just be prepared for them, and then it'll turn. And so there's a guy that ended up on my staff at Highlands, Matt Ritchie. It kind of started that way. This guy really just piqued my curiosity. I actually hired him in Sylacauga to be the small groups guy. But this dude, we connected early on, and then he started, we'd have lunch every week, and this dude would have his questions, and man, they had a hunger and a thirst for the Word of God, and eventually end up hiring him. And so, but I kind of stepped into that with him on the front end, and that ended up this way. So we can be proactive if we see something that looks like, man, I'd like to get to know that younger person. Then hey, let's make it happen. Don't wait for them.
Yeah, and I love Matt and Aaron, his wife. They're awesome, and that's such a good call out to people, because I do think sometimes they're like, well, no one's asking me, no one's approaching me, no one. It's like, well, if you feel led, take the first step. And to your point, you're not committing to every person you have lunch with or coffee with that you're going to be their person. There's a divine appointment thing that happens. There's an anointing thing. Sometimes you're just meant to do the one or two things because they needed that at that moment, and then they move on. But there are those people that God will, you'll have that kind of divine flow together, and it'll just naturally kind of unfold over time. You don't have to know up front, this is forever or this is for 5 years.
That's well said.
Take it a step at a time and just see. And sometimes it'll have a season, and sometimes it might not ever end. But if we don't try, we're just going to be sitting there wishing, and wishing doesn't make anything happen.
Right.
So,
amen to that.
And in the world I'm in marketing, creative, we talk about. I ask people like what their plan is. They're like, well, we're hoping, and we call that hope marketing. Hope marketing doesn't work.
Yeah,
you have to do something. So
do something different. You got to try something different. If you what is the old saying? If you keep doing what you've been doing in the same way, expect different results. I mean, it's just, and that's the same thing in these churches. The mission hasn't changed, the gospel hasn't changed, but how we're doing stuff. And so I've changed a lot of things at Winterboro, and I was telling the story last night on our Wednesday night deal. We have a supper. We have a meal together, and then I bring a short devotional on Wednesdays. We do it every other week, and I got to take people to pace they can live with, right? And then, but after the devotional, we have questions around the table, and because man, that's where special things happen, is around the table after a meal, right? And so we do that. But I forgot what I was about to say, Mark. As I went, what were we talking about before that?
We were talking about being intentional with people, and
we just.
I don't know where you were going with that.
I don't either. Stepping into that opportunity with where we go. I'll think of it this afternoon when I'm getting ready to wind down for the day. I'll text you.
Well,
with it.
We'll if you have that thought, make it one of your social media posts, and we'll encourage everybody.
There you go.
So speaking of that, and we'll put this in the show notes too. But how can people find you? What's your online handle and all that stuff? Just tell that for everybody.
So, it's Kelly Ranch 212 on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, KELLYRANCH 212. Had a interesting conversation about that the other day. So in the livestock industry, the 212 comes from so in the livestock industry, you have to register your brand for your cattle if you brand your cattle, and we used to brand our cattle. We don't brand them anymore, but we have a registered brand with the state of Alabama and whatever state you're in, and so it's a permanent mark that signifies ownership, right? And anyway, so I'd read this book probably 20 years ago about the time that I needed to get a Gmail address. And this book pointed to the fact that Jesus Christ took permanent marks on himself. When he was crucified there, the 2 nail scars in his hands, they weren't burned in him like we would do with livestock. 2 nail scars in his hands, a spear wound in his side, 2 nail scars in his feet, nonetheless a permanent mark, and was everything that Jesus does and did. It's upside down to the rest of the world, where usually we put this on the livestock, but Jesus took permanent marks on us. So the brand or the marks being 212 that Jesus had inflicted upon himself for us to signify that we belong to him. So that's where the 212 came from. I did a little post. I think there's a thing on YouTube that explains that that I did recently when a guy asked me where the 212, what the 212 meant. But Kelly Ranch 212 on social media. I think Facebook it's still Charles Kelly. But anyway, that's where I can be found. And then if somebody wants to see me, we don't stream our services at Winterboro, but I do a 10-minute message on Sunday. I post on Sunday mornings of what I'm preaching that day. I do it in about 10-minute window, which is quite an exercise to put a 30-minute message into a 10-minute window. But I do that at Winterboro Community Church on Facebook every Sunday morning too. Okay,
sweet. Well, we'll put that in the show notes and give everybody an opportunity to connect with you. And man, I just want to thank you again for being on here. It's been an incredible conversation. I knew it would be. As soon as I saw you on social media, I was like, man, I got to call him. I got to reconnect with him, because you always had so many good words for me, so much encouragement, so much passion. And I know people are going to watch this and listen to it and be challenged and encouraged. So man, I just want to honor you and say thank you to you for doing that. Well, man, thank you. And I honor you for doing this. You're perfect for this. And man, I'll be praying for this podcast to continue to blow up, and anything I do to serve you or anybody that might be watching. And that's my heart. Jesus was a servant, and that's what all the great men in the Bible, and I'm just here to serve in the best way that I can. And I want everybody to be excited about what we have as we get older. Our best days are the days ahead. And then at the end of this time here, man, we get to step into the unimaginable. And just so anybody, if they want to find me in heaven, I'll give you just a tip here. And so I'm going to go see the streets of gold, okay? And it's going to be something to see. But then if you want to find me, you need to recognize that I'm going to be down at the end of a dirt road. I'm going to be riding a pretty nice quarter horse, and I'm going to be tending to the cattle that my Father owns that are on 1,000 hills. So that's where you'll find me in eternity. That's awesome, man. Well, great to see you, brother. And we will. I'm sure we will have more of these conversations. I thank you, and I pray you have a great week. Hey, God bless. Can't wait to talk to you again. As promised, Charles did not disappoint. I hope you got as much out of that as I did. What an incredible man, a man of wisdom, a man who is being coached and mentored, a man who is pouring his life into other people, a man who has surrendered to his calling, and he's going after it regardless of age, regardless of stage of life, and doing an incredible job. And what a great example to all of us that God has more for us to do. Before we let you go today, I just wanted to remind you to like, subscribe, follow on whatever channel you're listening to or watching on. And also I want to remind you that we've got some incredible guests coming up. We've got a good friend of mine named Van Moody who's going to come on and give us some great insight. We've got Dwayne Donner. We have many other people lined up. It's going to be an incredible spring and summer, and I can't wait to share with you some of the things that God's doing. So make sure you stay tuned every Monday as we release new episodes. Episode 40 next week is going to be amazing, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great week.